What the most uncooperative inanimate object you've ever been forced to work with? Shirts with big neck holes and small coat hangers. Freaking stay up there. If you wind rubber bands around the ends of the hanger, it will keep your shirts from sliding off. Those pencils with the really crappy erasers. The ones that make every flaw more fricked up and obvious while at the same time whispering in your ear telling you that the only way out now is to keep rubbing. The erasers that squeak can just make a big dark smear on the paper, even if there wasn't even any graphite on that particular spot. A professional grade drill half my size to dig holes in the ground on bare arc. When the bit jammed, the drill and I kept spinning and made a complete round, cartoon style. Those goddamn Ziploc bags that food brands seal their food in. 90% of the time, when you pull apart the bag to open it, it just rips it off of one side of the bag. The entire reason you put this here was to reseal the bag, and I can't even do that. Any drawer that manages to get off the tracks in the cabinet. See also, any sliding glass door or closet door that gets off tracks. Frick the drawer under the stove. Clear tape. You know which one I'm talking about. That white clear tape that takes forever to find a piece to lift, and when you do, it rips at the corner and along the side, and then you have to try again. But for the odd time that you get it to lift, the piece sticks to itself and folds, so you have to start all over again. Packaging tape. Halfway through a concert, certain keys on the piano stopped coming back up. Not as bad as the story of a colleague whose piano suddenly started moving as he played, and eventually rolled off the stage and crashed. Word has it that he remarked to the audience, "I hate it when it does that." The piano rolling away thing literally sounds like a nightmare, like when I have dreams that my car's brakes are out. The goddamn phone cord on my office phone. It is all tangled up and I refuse to make any more attempts to untangle it. Every third time or so that I answer my phone, the whole freaking thing tries to come with the handset and I want to throw it across the hall. Cables. I work as an electrical engineer and sometimes spool off lots of different size cable and get them through conduit. You can be as careful as you like, but they will tangle up with each other. King size memory foam mattress. Let's make something with the structural integrity of a wet noodle, but 1000x bigger, and then, let's make sure it has a super sleek look by not putting any handles or additional fabric that may give the carrier some advantage over this monstrosity. Fold it, dummy. Grab 2 ratchet straps and fold that be like a taco. Now you've got 2 places to hold it from and it's rigid enough to carry with 2 people. Half the lanes at the alley I bowl league on. Either they get a little too attached to our bowling balls and don't want to return them, or the pin setters get drunk and barf our pins all over the lane, which, admittedly, is funny as crap, unless you're on a 7-bagger and your arm is going cold while the machine gets fixed. Ha, it looks like English, but the jargon is so thick, it could be Icelandic. ArcGIS. I've never worked with a more finicky software. I swear if you look at that program in the wrong way it fricks crap up. I'm no computer expert, but I know my way around tech. I'm familiar with basic programming theory, dabble in a few types of coding, etc. This is the only program I have come across where you can literally repeat the same exact set of actions or commands and get different results different times, or often you'll execute something and it doesn't work. Execute it again the exact same way and voila, it does. Computers shouldn't work that way, but Arc does. It's like voodoo. Love the program and how powerful it is, but anytime I have to sit down with it for more than a few hours it makes me want to rip out my hair and rub the bloody pieces of my scalp all over the screen. Whenever a drawer handle or doorknob rips out my headphones, my vision flashes white with an uncontrollable rage for about 2.7 seconds. Christmas lights. I swear, even when you wrap them, they tangle themselves up over the course of the year just to spite you. Wires seemingly tangling themselves has always made me wonder if it's actually a human perception problem and we end up tangling them while trying to untangle them or something. For example, with a hose I use to clean my lawnmower, it often appears to suddenly grow a tangle, though it can be undone with some twisting or whatever. An old box spring I had to move by myself when my mom was moving out. Thing weighed about 40 pounds. All the cloth on the bottom was ripped off. It hit everything when trying to move upstairs, and I had to pick 5-6 splinters out of my hand when I was done. Box springs are weird things. Personally, I don't know how we started using them, although I'm sure I could just Google it. Once when I was in elementary school and slept in a twin bed, my sister's old cat, a kitten at the time, actually pulled the fabric off the bottom of my box spring and I could hear her crawling up into it to take naps. Mom and dad didn't believe me until I showed them. Hard plastic packaging. I need a super strong pair of scissors, but don't always have them when needed to open something. The worst is buying scissors that are in the plastic packaging. It brings back the whole can opener conundrum. Oddly specific and probably too late, but for me it's a chewing gum wrapping machine. A work of art and brilliant engineering when all the inputs are within 5/10 thousandths of spec. An unmitigated disaster when not. Enjoy your fresh breath and appetite suppression while I'm over here wrestling with a German engineer's revenge. German engineering is impeccable. Your adjustments must be in error. Report to work at 7:55 so you may take your allotted extra time to acquaint yourself with your tools. Microsoft Word. I consider myself of above average knowledge of how to use Word, but I'm no expert. I know just enough to do most anything I want, but I don't know it well enough to deal with its weird quirks, especially some of the weird formatting problems. I do a lot of document design for my job, and about once a week, I have to walk away from my desk to avoid putting my fist through my monitor. Also, every printer I've ever used. A hose I frequently had to use when I worked in a cheese factory. Dang thing was super stiff and just would not get back on its rack. More than once customers saw me kneeling over that freaking hose punching and kicking it, on the edge of tears from rage because it just would not cooperate. It would always break when the steam was on, cutting the water and sending high pressured steam at whatever I was hosing. It once sent a pocket of steam in my glove. While I was wearing it, the steam wasn't on. I was rinsing my glove with cold water and it just sent a large puff of steam. I had second-degree burns on my forearm. Took almost a month to heal because the bandage kept tearing while I worked on stuff around the house. Frick that hose. Oboe reeds. For those who are not musicians, the oboe's mouthpiece, the thing you make noise with on a wind instrument, consists of two pieces of finely shaped cane, typically soaked in water, and tied to a metal adapter. These pieces of cane vibrate when you pass air through them to make the oboe noise. These pieces of cane are unbearably finicky, and your sound will vary wildly depending on the length of the soaking time, the temperature of the room, within degrees, the humidity of the room, the day of the week, how much you prayed last night, a minute dent you made when you were carving the fiddly little bastards. An oboist's skill is partly determined by dexterity with the instrument, partly by breath control, but mostly by how well they can navigate around their reeds. Treadmills. They're everywhere at the gym, but it's incredibly awkward and difficult to lift them. What a stupid design. Our forever chest. Hands down. A printer. Connect one via Wi-Fi. Send test page. Nope. No connection detected. Read the connection. Send test page. Nope. No connection. Rinse. Repeat. Throw some drivers at it, etc. Give up. 2 AM in the morning. Wait. You sent 30 test pages to Emmy earlier. I am connected. Let Emmy wake you up with Song of My People BZZZZZTBZZZZTBZZZZZT. The Song of My People. I lost my crap and woke up my grandma. My car's points are held onto the distributor with a tiny screw that has about 3 threads, 1.5 of which I used up by having to pass through the points themselves. So now you only have 1.5 threads of engagement and a shaft length which is nowhere near long enough to be able to line it up with a tiny hole properly. Bonus rage. If you drop the screw, it disappears into a hole in the distributor and you have to remove the distributor from the engine to be able to turn it upside down and shake the tiny screw out. On the positive side, the car is over 50 years old, so I just console myself with a calming thought that all of the morons who designed it are probably dead now. The active board in my classroom. There is always something not connecting or calibrating on the dang thing. It's supposed to make my job easier but just leaves me wishing I had a regular whiteboard to work with. though tech support is super underfunded in my district, so they do the best they can. Which is really stupid considering how much they emphasize technology in the classroom in the curriculum. Backpack vacuum cleaner. I worked as a night janitor when I was in high school and had to use one of these abominations constantly. The extension cord I had to use to power it would snag under fricking everything. Corner of a cubicle? Snagged. Chairs and tables? Snagged. Someone's bag of random crap that doesn't look too heavy? Yup, snagged. I'd be listening to my iPod with earbuds under some huge sound blocker headset and I'd try constantly to get into a rhythm with speedy music and the constant cord snags would break my rhythm and make me want to scream. Plus the goddamn flat T-shaped nozzle wouldn't have any suction unless you were shoving it against the floor with enough force to scratch the flooring, and never fit anywhere. A year in that job gave me a psychopathic hatred for vacuums and cords that still haunts me more than a decade later. Anything snagging my headphone cord will make me shout angry profanity instantly. My dad and I had to remove a 500-pound cast iron bathtub in one piece from a house with hallways barely wider than the tub turned on end and down a flight of stairs. Never again. Come with me, and you'll see a new world of research science, where the stuff never works and costs thousands to repair. College textbooks. The pages were so thin and light and my hands were always sweaty back then. I would set my hand on the page to hold it for a minute, then lift it up and tear the page cause it was stuck to my hand. Freaking infuriating. We called her Bertha, code 4B. She was the mass printer copier fax that ruled my last office. She had a penchant for mass hysteria, printing the same document thousands of times, jamming and ruining everything you needed. To add insult to injury, she would sometimes spray ink out when you were trying to fix her. Some bid to infect us with an unknown virus. I hope someone has hit her with a baseball bat by now. My wireless inkjet printer has gone on strike and refuses to acknowledge my new wireless router. It is now sitting quietly, gathering dust and clogging its own spigots with dried ink, mocking me. Any sort of hangers. I swear I put like 4 hangers on a rack and then go to grab one to hang pants or a shirt on and all the freaking sudden the hanger is tangled in with what feels like a Rubik's Cube of freaking hangers. And NBSP. I have to go all time to crack this frickin' safe for this bank heist to pull one hanger out. They never work out for me. VGA and DVI cables. The screws make the connectors shaped like grappling hooks and they catch on everything when you need to pull the cable out from behind a computer or monitor. Freaking Telsons. Those scanner things at Walmart. Those things freeze up, log you out, or some crap every 5 minutes. Freaking drives all the employees mental. Sewing machines. Something always fricks up 10 times before you finish. You have to rethread the bobbin. The tension fricks up. You lose the little plastic piece that the whole machine won't work without. Frick sewing. Most hand tools. You are working with one. Put it down. Then need it again and it's somewhere else in the alternative universe suddenly. I used to work on copy machines. A new model came out that had a control panel on an arm that came out from the back of the machine and could be repositioned as needed. I had to remove the control panel to troubleshoot an issue. Step 1 was to remove all the plastic panels from the arm to get to the cable running from the control panel to the machine, revealing the goddamn Terminator arm underneath. I knew the control panel was heavy. I don't know why I thought that when you repositioned it, friction held it in place and not a giant spring. I was leaned over the arm to get to the tiny screws in the back of the control panel, and as soon as I undid the last one the screen dropped off and the arm slammed up into my nose, which promptly sprayed blood all over the machine. To date it's the only inanimate object that's punched me. Not even a question. My first and only truck. It was a 1988 Ford F-150 with a plywood bed that was starting to degrade and had a lot of places where the rust was holding it together, but it was mine. Once when it was bitterly cold out, the battery died and I swapped it out. No start, just a bunch of clicking. Ugh. Well, this is a brand new battery so it isn't that. Maybe the solenoid. Told my father, who drove me up to the junkyard and waited for me while I pulled one from one of their junkers. Drove home. Replaced solenoid. Try to start again. Click 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 click. Ugh. Have about 3 hours of daylight left and it is 26 degrees F. What the heck could it possibly be? Called my father back outside to help take a look. He double checks to make sure the solenoid is installed properly. It is. Try to start again. Click click click. Maybe a bump part. Tap it with a hammer to see. Click click click. God, it is getting cold. We settled on maybe the starter is actually hosed. He drives me to my appointment, then picks me up 2 hours later. The next day we go buy our rebuilt and head back to the garage. Cold again, only this time the wind is howling. Just as we are about to tear into the motor and replace the starter, my father yells to me, "Hey, you replaced the battery right?" "Yes." "Well, did you happen to notice that you did not tighten the positive battery terminal?" He demonstrates by spinning it around. OMG. I clamp it down with the pliers and we try to start it up. Vroom. I got out of the truck all smiles and laughing, but he grabbed the nearby jumper cables and beat the crap out of me with them until I was whimpering on the garage floor. I never did get a refund on the starter either because the junkyard didn't take returns. Drum brakes. On some cars it's like putting a puzzle together, only no piece of the puzzle will stay in place until they are all in place. Cheap Scotch tape. When you finally manage to peel off a strip by digging at it for a good 5 minutes, and if that doesn't splinter, you eventually have to deal with try to cut off a piece using that plastic jagged tooth that always, usually without fail, just spits out an extra foot of freaking tape because the teeth aren't sharp enough to cut through that crap. Then that strip immediately proceeds to stick to itself, make the freaking piece of tape useless as you try to detach it from itself, but you're having a hard time because it's sticking to your freaking fingers, arms, face, you name it, until that piece of tape ends up in a useless freaking ball of garbage. Then repeat with scissors. Jesus. Felt rage just typing all that out. Freaking automatic faucets. I work at a gym and trying to get those things to work is a nightmare. You need to have your hands the perfect distance away to activate it, and the moment you move them to start scrubbing, the water shuts off. Then you're stuck there waving your hands underneath it like a retard just to get it to work. I hate those freaking things. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.